Okay, and that does it. We are a few minutes late. We had some technical difficulties. Not a problem. We are here on one of the best nights of the week, on one of the best shows on the internet, Masculine Geek. So this is Masculine Geek number 105. We have special guests tonight. Returning guest, Mr. Roman from opiumtales.com. He's been a guest on the show before, and we welcome him back. And we have a new guest, William Rivers Hedge of Twitter fame. And he does his own writing, and he is a fellow whiskey drinker. And obviously, you know Jimmy and Rob. So here we are. How's everybody doing tonight? Everyone good?
I'm doing pretty well. I got some Monkey Shoulder whiskey over here, which is really good. It was recommended by Duke Draper, who also recommended a wonderful gin drink that the glasses are actually shaped like Marie Antoinette's breasts.
Oh, you got some tit glasses.
Yes. Yeah, they're beautiful glasses. It's a beautiful drink. It's called a Pink Lady, and it's a girly drink. But he showed me that to make for the girlies when you have girls over, because you usually don't feed girls scotch.
This is true. Nice. Okay. Very cool. And Rob is drinking his usual.
Absolutely.
And William, what do you got going there? What are you rocking?
Unmute. My go-to is Templeton Rye. I'm a rye fan. I like American whiskey. I like it, nice and bold. So I'm not a huge Scotch fan, but rye and Irish whiskey are kind of my two go-tos.
Okay, cool. I like it. Now, why don't you explain and give a little bit of detail about yourself, what you're all about?
Oh yeah. Hard to say. At my age, I've had 10 different lives. So which story do I tell? I don't know.
Go with the most interesting, and then work your way down.
I've been retired for. I'm 62. I've been retired for 12 years now. So that's unusual. I had a long marriage to a big shot globetrotting CEO type, and we had have 3 daughters, and towards the end, I never saw her at home, so I kind of stuck around, took care of the kids. Then she found another guy, and we got divorced, and ended up in Florida for some reason. And I've been down here for 12 years, and in the interim, I turned myself into, I don't know if this can be bragging, but I guess it's true. I'm probably one of the top, 5 or 10 amateur retirement quants in the U.S., the world, maybe. I don't know. I kind of spent the last 8 years doing a deep dive on quantitative finance, economics, actuarial science, stuff like that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Financial mathematical modeling of retirements and so forth. So that's kind of what I've been digging into for the last 8 years, but I'm kind of phasing out of that, and I'm trying to convert my 2 oldest kids are kind of out of the house now. So I'm in this inflection stage in my life where I'm like, okay, now what? So I'm trying to go from left brain to right brain. So I'm doing a lot more with art, literature, reading, philosophy, learning, whatever. So that's kind of my current thing in the moment.
I've seen some of your, I think, photos and some of your art up on Twitter.
Yeah, I try to throw it out there every once in a while.
I like it. Cool. You also have a blog that you frequent as well. Let me throw that up.
It's really geeky. I go.
Well, you're here, so.
Yeah, I go hyper nerd. It's really the far end of kind of the math side of retirement quant stuff. This is not like an old guy looks up how to do his 401k. This is kind of hardcore mathematical modeling.
Gotcha. All right, cool. There it is, rivershedge.blogspot.com. Oh, you go the way of Aaron. He does Blogspot too.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we have 2 fellow artists here, both Rivers Hedge and Roman. What's your preferred medium to work in?
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not I don't know. I've tried a few things. When I was younger, I did a lot of graphite pencil stuff. I took some class a while back, acrylic painting. I've done colored pencil. I've done pastel. My daughters gave me a year ago, they gave me an iPad and one of those Apple pencils.
Oh,
And
yeah.
a year later, I opened the box. I'm like, I think I better open this so they don't get pissed at me. So I've been playing around with drawing on the iPad on apps, which is really cool. It's been an eye opener on what you can do. It's remarkable.
Oh, yeah. The technology is, I mean, from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
What's do you have any particular genre? Because I know Roman is fond of doing the tits, and he's drinking out of a glass made of tits. So there you go. I mean, what's your realm?
I don't know. It's hard to say. It's not abstract for sure. And it's not like super realistic. It's kind of semi-representational. I do like human figures and bodies, but like Roman might know this. The genre that I've got stuff hanging around here from a guy that I like to emulate. That's can be categorized as like German expressionist, if that makes sense to you. So that realm would be. I could probably. Well, no, I won't show you. But anyway, that's the zone. Kind of semi-abstracted representational stuff. Hard to describe.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if you want to, at any point in time, you want to share something, let me know. I'll throw it up in the share screen. Because I don't think you have that on your blog, do you?
No.
No.
I mean, the art stuff.
Yeah, this is specifically your finance and math stuff. Yeah.
On my Twitter bio, I've got there's a link to what I call my gallery. It's basically a thread of.
Oh, okay.
Thread of stuff that I've done.
I'm gonna go take a look at that. How about you, Roman? What are you doing lately?
Same thing as always, just drinking and painting. My artwork is based off the American pinups combined with Dungeons and Dragons because I was a huge AD&D V1 player back in the early 80s. And
Absolutely.
from the early 80s to mid 80s. And once it got into the second edition, I just stopped playing completely. I hated the second edition with a passion because it seems like it became serious. It lost its fun and really lost its soul. But the other thing that it cleaned up, which I like fantasy to be dirty. I don't like it to be clean. So all like the Frazetta-ish elements they took out. So I hated it and stopped playing. But since it's funny, like in the mid 2000s, I started playing V1 with some friends. But anyways, that's what my art style is based off. Is it's a combination of oh, nice. Yeah, you know, it's funny. I really like Rivers Hedge's stuff, but his blog though, and this is no offense. This is kind of my retardness, but I can't read your blog. It's so far over my head, and just like all the graphs, it's just like I don't get it. But I do like your artwork.
Yeah, what I do is definitely not. I'm really writing for myself. I'm not writing for other people. So these are the things that I find curious, that I have curiosity about, and that I chase down.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I like it. Very nice. And you have a question in the chat, which I threw up on the screen from the Competent Man. You can see that there.
Yeah, this is a new app for me. I'm trying to figure out how to reply to whatever the guy.
Now, feel free to vocalize it too. You don't have to type it out if you don't want to. You just go ahead and say it.
Yeah, well, I know William Bernstein. He writes very technically, like some other people, like Richard Michaud and some others. Yeah, Bernstein's pretty good. He's much more a what I'll call finance guy, as opposed to retirement finance, where the spending stuff comes in. And that's kind of a different domain. Once you bring spending in, you're dealing kind of with a second domain. Plus, then you got to start talking about longevity. Then you're getting into actuarial science, which is a whole third thing. So Bernstein is a little bit more on the finance side of it.
Compliment an additional question earlier, which you might find, we could get started on this. He said, I see the guest this evening focuses on retirement issues. One question I have, do you think most of the state and local underfunded plans will have to cut benefits? And if so, when?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I don't get into public policy too often. Both states and private pension plans are under pressure. They're all converting from what used to be defined benefit to defined contribution, so they don't have to do those cuts. They basically just make a contribution, then it's whatever. But like for the big state and the remaining big public pension or private pension plans, it's a little dicey. Depends on your portfolio. Depends on the promises. Depends on a lot of stuff. I don't know. I think that cutting benefits to old people is a crime. If you make a promise, follow through. It's like relationships. If you make a promise, follow through. And if you can't, you shouldn't have made the promise.
Correct. And
Yeah, totally. I also think you should have that mindset where you shouldn't have to depend on receiving anything and just assume that you're not going to receive what they told you you're going to receive. And I know that sounds fatalistic, but if you have that mindset, you're going to be a better investor.
Absolutely. Now, from your website here, you're also into a section called Post 60 Fitness. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I went through that's probably a better topic for this kind of podcast. I went through a radical transformation about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Physically and mentally, which was an eye-opening experience for me. Do you want me to kind of dilate on that a little bit?
Please do. Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, so like a lot of dudes, life is hard when men in their 50s. I have a lot of compassion for men in their 50s. If you go on Twitter and canvass a bunch of 50-year-old dudes, what are you going to find? You're going to find guys that are in stalled careers. Their wives won't sleep with them. Their kids are biting their heels. They're overweight. They're weak. They're sedentary. They haven't done anything. They're not doing anything. They have no plans for the future. They're depressed, right? That's the state of a lot of 50-year-old men. So I guess I'll put myself in that state. About 2017, I got divorced in 2009, and I kind of wandered through the wasteland of dating in South Florida, which is a whole other book I could write. For a long time, and I ended up in this series of relationships, and the last one lasted about 4.5 years. This Latin woman down, she was very nice, but I'm not constitutionally equipped to be in a long-term relationship with a Latina. It just was hard. So we broke up very end of 2016, early 2017. I don't remember the exact date. And I looked at myself, and I was 58 at the time. I was overweight. I was over 200 pounds, which for me is big. I was weak. I hadn't moved from my, Rivers Hedge, blogging chair for like 20 years. I just was, blob. My self-esteem sucked. I'm like, no woman's going to want me, blah, blah, blah. So she broke up, or I broke up with her. I can't remember. We both kind of broke up with each other. And I looked at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, dude, even I wouldn't sleep with you. You need to pull it together. So here's what I did. I took off almost 9 months where I said, no more dating, no more relationships. I said, I got to focus on me physically and me psychologically to figure out what I'm going to do in what I call my third stage of life. So the first stage is, childhood and student life. Second stage is that, hardcore life of building a career, marriage, kids, householding, all that kind of stuff. Well, now all that's over, and kids are leaving. I'm retired. So I said, I got another 30 years left. What am I going to do? And I'm overweight, weak, whatever. So I took 9 months off, and I went to the gym. I went to the gym every day for 2 straight years. And then I allowed myself after about 9 months to start dating again. I lost 35 pounds to get down to fighting weight. And so I transformed in a radical way. And I throw these pictures out on a couple social media platforms every once in a while. And like I mentioned earlier, men in their 50s respond really graciously. They're like, if you can do it, I can do it too. These are guys that are, maybe they're 49 or 52. They're like, if you at 60, whatever, can do it, then I can do it too. And so that was just a big thing that I went through. It was amazing the degree to which just losing a little weight, putting on a little bit of muscle mass, and getting trim really, really boosts your confidence and your enthusiasm for what's coming next. And so it was just a big part. I put that on my blog because it was a transformational inflection point that really hard for me to ignore. And I'm trying to sustain it. In COVID land, it's a little hard to sustain. I got my own home gym here, but it's hard to stay motivated. But anyway, that was the story.
Cool. So that's where you're at now.
Yeah.
All right. Nice. And yes, everyone, we have a little bit of an echo in the background. We're trying to compensate for that. So don't at me. Excuse me.
Well, you look good, Will. And you're wearing the right shirt, too.
Dude, you look more than good. You look fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah, you do.
There you go.
Yeah, for 62, on my 62nd birthday, I kicked off 20 pull-ups, full extension pull-ups, by the way, on my birthday, just to prove that I could do it.
Nice.
I'm feeling pretty good about being in my 60s. And I'm trying to toggle the mute on and off so that you don't get the echo.
Nah, don't worry about it. It's fine. We'll deal with it. That's fucking fantastic. I love success stories like this. And you wake up feeling good about yourself. And now that you're healthy and getting that strength training going, what's your daily regimen like?
Let me back up a little because it was funny. I was going 7 days a week for a couple hours for the first 2 years. What I learned was at my age, you can't do that. You got to have recovery time.
Yeah.
So I ended up injuring myself, shoulders, back, all that kind of stuff. And so I had to back off, and I learned how to just chill. I don't need to go 7 days a week. I can do as little as 2, but maybe 3 to 4 days a week. And then in last year in February, right before COVID hit, I was going to this gym down the street here, and I looked at the gym. I'm like, man, this is a dangerous place, sort of. Everybody's like grabbing all the equipment, they're breathing on it, they're spitting on it. And then I was at some sports store, and I was looking at a giant pile of adjustable benches and dumbbells, and I'm like, shit, this disease is coming. Why is this pile of equipment here? It should all be sold out. So I looked at it. I'm like, I'm gonna buy. I'm buying. So I bought a bench and a bunch of dumbbells and some other equipment. And within 2 weeks, the entire United States was stripped of dumbbells and benches, all gone. So I set up a garage.
Good timing.
Yeah, good timing. So I set up a garage gym. So my routine now is I'm gonna have a A day, B day, and a rest day. So the A day is major muscle groups with weights, and then B day is body weight stuff like pull-ups, dips, stuff like core work, and then the rest day is the rest day, and then I repeat. That's kind of the routine. Don't ask me about legs though.
I'm notoriously bad for training leg. I do, but maybe once a week if I'm lucky. Everything else is the rest of the body. So cool. Now, you mentioned that you were going 7 days a week for a few hours, and then obviously you need the recovery time. What does that drop down to? Because I know if you follow Drew Badall, he advocates and says, hey, look, you don't need to be in the gym for hours on end. if you're lifting properly and correctly, you can be in and out in 20, 30 minutes with a minimal amount of machines or weights.
Yeah, my efficiency has gotten better. The very first, for any older guys that are out there, I'll tell you about my first day that I went, and then talk about the progression if anybody's interested.
Absolutely.
After 30 years of sitting around, I really, really dreaded going to the gym. I didn't want to do it. I'm not one of those guys that naturally goes, I love lifting weights. I'm just so energized. I'm like, oh, shit, I don't want to do it. So on the first day, I knew I had to do it. It had to happen. It was like conviction. It was a promise. I made a promise to my daughter. She goes, Dad, I'm worried about you. You're going to have a heart attack. All the men in my family tend to have heart attacks and die in their 50s. So she goes, Dad, you got to do something. So I say, yeah, fine, I'll take care of it. And she kept bugging me. So I felt obligated to follow. Remember, I was talking about following through on commitments. So I made a commitment to her. So I went to the gym on the first day and I said, all you got to do on the first day is just open the front door to the gym. And that's all you have to do. And then you have permission to go home, as long as you do one thing before you go home. So I did. I went to the gym, I opened the door, and I'm like, yeah, I can go home now. But I thought I'll do one thing. And I went in, I did a couple things, and then I left. Kept it very simple. And then the next day I went back and I did that thing the day before plus something else. Well, if you do that recursively, you end up with a very intense progressive load process where you're adding on the margin, adding time, adding weights, adding routines, adding stress, adding reps, whatever. So that was the process over 2 years. But the problem was I was so sedentary that my cardiovascular stuff was really shitty. I couldn't breathe. So I took a long time between sets to recover. And so the time at the gym was pretty long. So 2 hours, but I was probably doing maybe 45 minutes worth of work for a guy that's in shape. So over 3 years, that time that I need to work out has shrunk down to a much shorter time. So right now, if I'm working out at home, I'll it'd be maybe an hour if I'm not dicking around too much.
Yeah, that's the thing, especially when I'm there. Mine's down to 2 or 3 days a week. I'm doing static holds. My form is damn near perfect, and Bacon had said it. You'd be surprised at just how slowing down your movements during exercise will do even body weights like push-ups and squats, and it's so true. I've seen a difference. I'm like, you look in the mirror like, holy shit, and that's just a couple weeks of slowing myself down, doing the static hangs, just lowering the weight slow, concentrating, making sure my breathing is correct, going back up slow, doing the hold. I do even here when I have the pull-up bar or doing push-ups, just slow and concentrating on the form and my breathing, and it's the result is amazing.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan. I chuckled when I was at the gym. I was at one of these big commercial gyms where you have the jacked, semi-jacked old dudes that have like zero range of motion, where they'll lift something maybe an inch at full, curls like this.
Yep.
Right? And so I've always been a fan of full range of motion, lighter weights, slower, because you're getting much higher quality stress on the muscle. In my opinion, everybody's got their thing. But like pull up, I learned on pull. Here's an interesting thing in pull-ups. I thought I was a hot shot on pull-ups when I first started doing them. I could do a bunch, and then somebody said, "Oh no, you're not fully extending. You gotta extend all the way and get like a little bit of a scapular extension at the bottom, and then go back up." So I was doing like maybe 15 at the time, and then I switched to the full extension. I could do like 4.
Yep.
And then I built myself back up to my record at 20 doing full extension. But learning how to manipulate your muscles when you're at full extension, just that little bit of it's hard to describe. When you're fully extended, just like doing the pull from there. You're really working your back, not your arms. So it was an interesting journey on pull-ups.
Speaking of back, I asked my wife one day, what's sexier on a man? Strong chest, strong arms, or strong back? And she said, by far, strong back.
Yeah, you can. That's because that's well, that and the core allows you to throw her over your shoulder and take her where you will.
Exactly.
Yep. Cool. Now, Roman, you're into obviously in shape and taking care of yourself. What's your exercise regimen like? What are you doing?
Weightlifting and running.
Okay.
And I'm probably the opposite of everyone else here. Squats are my absolute favorite. I love leg day.
Really?
And my
You're
second
probably
favorite,
one of 5 people that do.
yeah. But that's where it's at. That's the only place I could get runner's high from. I can't even get runner's high from running. I can only get it from squats or deadlifts.
Oh shit.
So I only do a few things. I do squats, deadlifts, bench, pull-ups, and like Rivers had said, all the way. I could do 7 all the way, and it's brutal. It's like when you see people do all kinds of pull-ups, they're half the time they're cheating themselves. But
Yeah.
once you go drop all the way down, it's super hard.
Oh yeah, you're fully extending, and then you hang there for a second or two, and then you slowly pull yourself up, and you're doing that where you're pressing your shoulder blades together as you're pulling yourself up, like Rivers Hedge was saying. Yeah, If you like throwing if you start kipping and then going real fast, you could probably bang out 15 or 20, no problem. But it's not doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. So my gym has a heavy bag too. And it's a small gym, which is great because something's always open. And I worked a heavy bag. Back in the 90s, I used to do Thai boxing. I did American boxing. I did a little wrestling too. And I, of course, never was a fighter because that's not my thing. I've always been an artist first. But I really believe that men should just know the stuff because the stuff will keep you alive. And it's stuff you could learn, stuff you could use in your 50s and 60s.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I'm in my 50s now, and I have to be in shape because we have to. Well, men should really start taking their health seriously at 40, because it all really goes downhill at 40. For me, it was 42, but for the average person, it's mid 30s to early 40s.
No, it's true.
But yeah, that's my thing. And running, I don't measure anything. I just run. I just put my shoes on, sweatshirt on, just run and go until I'm tired, and I walk back. All
right. How do you like running in Texas?
You have to go either really late at night or early in the morning. Texas, even the wintertime, it's got this humidity where you're just going to sweat, which is one of the best things for you, because sweating is the best thing a man could do, because you get rid of all the toxins in your body. I know it sounds very hippie-ish, but it's very true. And you're going to store toxins, and by just sweating, you're releasing them. So it's a good feeling. But it's a whole different ball game. Running in California is way easier than running in Texas. Then, of course, in California, everybody in California runs on the beach in slow motion, 15 minutes a night. It's a show.
What part of Texas are you in?
Houston.
Okay, you're in Houston. All right.
So we love it here. We've already met a few Twitter pals here. And we also been to Fort Worth and met a bunch more.
Nice. And Jim is going to be heading out there soon too, so you get to hang out with him.
Yeah.
We're heading down to Dallas, but I have a few friends in Houston, of course, so I'll be visiting there.
Cool. Oh, cool. Yeah, come by.
Very cool. And that's what?
Contact number.
April or May?
A huge range of whiskey, like Rivers Hedge was talking about, Irish and rye. We got some of that stuff too. We're all over the place when it comes to whiskey. Japanese, Irish, Scotch, bourbon, rye, you name it, we got it.
Sounds right like the right kind of crowd.
Yeah.
There you go. Cool. And I think Rob is dead. Earth calling Rob.
No, I'm here.
All right, what's your exercise regimen, Rob? What are you doing? What do you got going over there? I know you're not running.
I'm drinking beer. That's what I'm doing.
He's lifting the bottle from the table to his mouth.
I chase girls around the bedroom. That's what I do for fun.
There you go. That's probably one of the better cardio things that you can do. Yes.
Yes.
Nice. So that's still going to involve some sweating. So not Texas sweating, but
Yeah, not Texas sweating, that's for sure.
no. Okay. Now you go to
That'd be the
you-
one thing I'm not looking forward to is the heat.
Oh, the sweat. Yeah, that's.
The
I don't envy you. So Rob, are you a gym goer?
Sometimes I am. I need to get back into it. I need to get off my ass, but I've been a lazy fucker since the lockdown and haven't gone. So that's where I am.
All right. Awesome. Get your ass back in the gym, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, no shit.
Cool. Let's get back to painting and a little bit of music too. River's Hedge, is that part of your activities too? You into music? Because I know Roman is.
Surprisingly not. I've been brain dead on music forever. I just never made it really part of my life. It's interesting though. Now the woman I've been seeing for 2 years is a classical pianist,
Oh,
and has been for 50 years. So she's really skilled. Retired. She was an accompanist for a local college for many years. I'll give you an example. She's been teaching me a little bit about music theory, like fifth, third kind of stuff. All the mechanics of how sound works together, along with giving me a little bit of a layout of the role of music through the ages. From classical, baroque, romantic, modern. So I've been getting an education, and so I was down at her house. I don't know, a couple of months ago, and she had been practicing this Brahms piece because I'd said I like Brahms for no reason. I didn't know why I said that, but she had been practicing for a couple months, and she sat me down. She played me this beautiful Brahms piece, just for me, and just because it was really lovely. So yeah, it's not like I'm totally brain dead to music. I enjoy it. I'll tell you another story here. I do like to listen to music here. My kids hate it when I do this because I listen to weird stuff. So this last month I've been listening to, I got into listening to The Who. Do you know The Who? It's a Mongolian throat singing band. Okay, so if you throw The Who on Pandora does these channels, so you don't listen to just The Who, they throw other shit at you. So I have this Who channel on, and the Who channel, they fill it with like Viking punk chants and some other stuff. And so my house has this really, really weird vibe. And then when I get tired of that, I flip it to my girlfriend had turned me on to, she said that men's choral voices can, when they sing in unison, can create a fake, if they're singing in bass or baritone, they can create this unheard or fake high tone. And she goes, here, you got to listen to this. She plays some shit for me. So then that segued into Gregorian chants, and that segued into Monteverdi and Palestrina. So now I have these Renaissance era choral music in the background. It's very sacred music. So on any given week, I'm listening to some weird stuff just to get, you spend a couple hours on Twitter, you need something fairly sacred or grounded to put you back in the world. And so I use stuff like my reading, my art, music, whatever, to kind of get back to reality.
I like it. That's awesome. Well, you're doing the music theory, and you've got your sort of existential ambiance going on over your place, and then Roman is pianist himself.
Yes, which reminds me, I was supposed to send the last two piano compositions to you. I completely forgot. And actually to Will, to show to his girl. So that's one thing that slipped my mind. I'll have to remember after this broadcast. But yes, I love piano. I'm heavily influenced by Chopin. I think he's incredible. I know Rivers Hedge was trying to get me to listen more Brahms, which I love Brahms orchestrated pieces, but I never got into his piano stuff. So it's not, I don't like it, it's ignorance. It's just, I've never studied it. So that's something I have to get around to doing.
Do you read any Borges by any chance? You know, Ficciones or any of the fictions that he wrote? He was a huge Brahms fan. I don't know if you guys know Borges. He was a South American writer back in the 40s and 50s.
No. The South American writer I like a lot is Isabel Allende. I love her because she's weird. And you have a normal story going on, and all of a sudden a ghost walks in and starts having a conversation with the characters and walks off. And that's just normal. That's just how her stories are. And it's not seen as weird. It's her normal.
Well, those dudes loved, the South Americans loved the magical realism. That's like, what's his name? I can't remember his name. 100 Years of Solitude. Who wrote that one? That was Gabriel.
I know what you're talking about.
Marquez. Marquez. Yeah.
But yes, I've been writing some solo piano pieces, and Adrian Olivas is actually going to come over, and he's going to help me record them because I don't have a sound engineering ear at all. And he's really good into sound engineering and never started, but he thinks that he could be a good sound engineer. So I said, okay, just come over. I'll supply the microphones and set it up, and we'll record some pieces.
Oh, okay, cool. I know Adrian.
Yeah, I will release some classical pieces this year with actually me on the piano.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. And you have a section on your website where people can go purchase those, right?
Correct. Opiumtales.com.
Okay.
Yeah, I have 2 dance pieces, including 1 disco piece. I have 2 waltzes and 1 ballad, and everything is fully orchestrated. One of the songs is only string quartet, but the other stuff has a full string orchestra in it.
Gotcha. All right, cool. I like it.
So yeah, I would be very fascinated to meet your girlfriend, Will, because we could probably talk about music for hours.
Yeah, she's been playing classical music since she's a little older than I am, so she's been playing classical music since, I don't know, 1970.
Wow.
Yeah,
nice.
Add up the years.
And I also like dad metal. I think, was it Rob, where you and I had a conversation about Led Zeppelin versus Deep Purple and
That's funny.
Well, I know I like Deep Purple way more than I like Led Zeppelin.
Same. Okay, it was you. And it was funny because like all the cute girls in my high school, I'm Gen X, and
Yes, so
all the
am
cute
I.
girls in my high school like Led Zeppelin. And there was just one thing that really pissed them off, and I'd say, oh no, Deep Purple's way better.
Yep.
And the funny thing, though, is you want to piss off girls. If you agree with girls all the time, you'll never sleep with them.
Yep.
You always want to disagree with them a bit. And it's better to argue with them than it is to agree with them.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So that was one of my strengths, is that I always had those weird things like Deep Purple's a little better than Led Zeppelin and things like that would always piss off girls.
A worthy endeavor. Absolutely. Yeah, I never really. It was Led Zeppelin. They were okay. I mean, they were commercialized and overplayed, and it didn't resonate with me. I'm like, whatever. So. I
was also a Duran Duran apologist in the 80s.
Duran Duran was okay.
Everyone loved to hate. And I'm like, no, these guys are actually pretty good. They're good musicians, and their music is actually pretty good. And the guys just, everybody I went to high school with just wanted to kick their ass. They just hated them because the girls liked them.
Yeah. And Nick, the best part of Led Zeppelin was the Lord of the Rings references. That and H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah. Yeah, with Kashmir.
Yeah, no, lyrically they were good.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking them. I just think that Deep Purple was way better.
Rob's nodding. He's like, yep, Deep Purple all the way. Cool. And I was just about to ask Jimmy Jim a question, and he disappeared.
Dude,
God damn
I'm
it!
always
Stop!
watching.
I know. Stop fucking with your hair. You're not, you
My
now.
hair
You
has
do.
not changed. Let the record show.
It's what?
My hair has not changed. Let the record show. If I want to mess with my hair, I'm going to do it on camera for everyone.
That's probably true. But you did shave, so yes. Thank you for.
Yes. Well, I didn't do that on camera. I thought that might be distracting.
Probably, yeah, and yeah, can't have that. But you do the artwork, but you're not doing music, are you? I don't remember.
I'm not doing music. I am a motion graphics artist. Is the official title.
All right, cool.
Tend to work in abstracts and things of that sort.
Yeah, you post that stuff every night on Instagram.
And
obviously everybody knows Rob's into heavy metal and obviously Deep Purple. And Rob, are you a guitarist or a bassist? I forget. God damn it, Rob. We have another question in the chat. What about Sabbath? Okay.
The most influential heavy metal band of all time.
Nope.
They wrote the book. But then, once again, I have a controversial view on Sabbath. I actually think that Dio's a better singer than Ozzy. And I love Ozzy, don't get me wrong, but I just think that Dio's a better singer. And the two Dio albums were better than any Paranoid was great, don't get me wrong, but Mob Rules, I think, was Sabbath's best album of all time.
Nice. River's Hedge is going to get a refill. I'm not ready for a refill. This is, I was talking with River's Hedge earlier. This is a, and Roman, we're mentioning this wine. Every once in a while, and you go to a wine store, whatever, you pick up a wine, you look at the cheap, you go down to around knee level or foot level, and you look at the cheap section. For the most part, you get what you pay for. Every once in a while, you find something that's $8.99 that's fucking delicious, and you're surprised. But you have to hunt and peck, and you really have to experiment. The label caught my eye in the description. $5.99. It's $5.99. Fuck it, I'll try it. This tastes like the color is good. It's a bit translucent. It's got an interesting reddish brass color to it. Most wine has a beginning, the start, the middle, and what they call the finish. The middle is where you get nuanced flavor and where it really pops. Cheap wine will often not have that middle nuance section. So you get the alcohol and the fruit just fucking fighting it out and trying to overpower one another. So this tastes like cooking wine. Now you may say, hey, Vince, well, fuck it, just dump it. I don't like to waste it. It does the purpose of giving me the slight buzz, and I'm enjoying it as it opens up and then the air hits it. And what I do is I chill it. You can wake up a wine by chilling it. So it's not as bad as it was when I first opened the bottle. So, but yeah, you really have to do some searching. And if you do find a bottle that's $5.99, $7.99 that tastes good, write it down. This way you know, and you can go back to it. And you can end your search. You can say, I found the perfect $5.99 bottle, and move on. Because you do get what you pay for. I found that. That's right, Mictopus. I'm making you feel funny in your swimsuit area. I know it. It just made me lose my train of thought there.
Well, I'll jump in then. I collected and stored wine for over 30 years.
Nice.
I kept 2 different houses with 2 different cellars at different times. I'm actually exiting my wine hobby after 30 years. I kind of am giving it up.
Really?
I had up to it wasn't huge like some of these guys. I maybe had a couple thousand bottles, something like that. At one point, I'm down to maybe 120.
Only 120. I love it.
I'm trying to burn through them. In 2.5 years, I'm moving to Montana if I possibly can. So I want to get rid of every bottle left before I move, so I don't have to take anything with me.
I don't blame you.
You're right. I got I got kind of snobby and fancy for a while, but the truth is, inexpensive wine can be really good, and to spend a lot of money is stupid if you're stupid about buying them.
Yep.
It's really, if you open the bottle, if you like it, that's the truth.
Exactly.
There's no other
Yeah.
truth than you like it or you don't.
Yeah.
So I moved. I'll tell you one last story here. I loved red wine for decades, and I collected mostly northern Italian wines, Piedmont wines, Barbarescos, Barolos. That was kind of my sweet spot. Okay, so in 2008 and 2007, 7, 8, and 9, when I went through a divorce, global financial crisis, and a move to Florida that was fraudulent. My ex-wife tricked me into coming down here so she'd get married to another guy. So those three all happened at the same time, along with having 3 little kids, preschool age. I went through so much stress. I lost a lot of weight. I had to, talk to a therapist. I was bummed out. And you know what? The weirdest thing was I lost my palate for wine. What I mean by that is I couldn't stand the taste of red wine. Literally could not abide it.
Oh, wow.
I still like whiskey. I still like alcohol.
Yeah.
But I just lost interest in wine. Now that came back. I'd say maybe 3 years ago, which is, what is that, like, I don't know, that was like 7, 8 years of lost time. Came back, but like I only liked lighter bodied wines, Pinot Noirs, stuff like that, and it's come back. But I think it was just I asked my physician at the time. He goes, "Oh yeah, dude, you were so stressed out. It's like chemotherapy. You had so many toxins in your bloodstream that your mouth probably just rejected the taste of wine."
Yeah, seriously.
It's just a total psychological, physical, combination of stuff. So yeah, so I'm out of wine. That's why I drink. I still drink. I like to drink. Just less wine, more whiskey.
Absolutely. Nothing wrong with whiskey at all.
We're gonna have to hit Rivers Hedge's house too.
I gotta say, and Bacon says, yeah, it's like, you want my shipping address? Yeah, you're getting rid of that wine. Oh shit, that's funny.
It sounds like there's a bit of a crazy story behind that Florida incident. Are you comfortable? If you're not, it's 100% fine. But do you want to tell that story?
Yeah, sure. It's a little bit weird. I always said I should write a screenplay because it's like screenplay writable. So, like I mentioned, I was married in 1991 to a very, very ambitious woman. By very, I mean extreme form. She in the intervening years was on the cover of newspapers, magazines, trips to the White House, that kind of stuff. Made a shit ton of money. But here's the deal. So for 19 years we were married, she wasn't there. She would get on a plane Monday morning at 5:30 in the morning, and she'd come back Friday night at like 10 for 18 years. With almost no exception. So if you think about it, that's, I think I did math once, it's like 12 and a half years of elapsed time that she was gone. And that's, buying and selling 3 houses, that's having 3 children, which is a miracle given the time she was gone.
Yeah, that's...
When my oldest was born back in 97, my ex was, I'm going a little too far into this, but like my ex was on conference calls during labor. And then I think it was, I want to say 10 days, was probably maybe 14 days after birth. She hands me the baby, goes, "I'll be back next week. I'll see you." So I spent the next 12 years, 5 days a week, 24 hours a day, 100% solo with 1, then 2, then 3 kids. Then, because she was traveling, she took this job in Florida as a CEO of some company down here, which is fine. I accepted that. That was our lifestyle. What I didn't know is she was seeing another guy down here, and that when we identified that there was a problem in the marriage, I said, "Okay, fine." She said, "Will you move down to Florida so we can A, work on our marriage, and B, give us a chance for the kids to spend some time with me for a change?" I'm like, "Okay, I'll do that. If we're going to work on it, put the kids together, that's all constructive, positive stuff." Okay, so here's where it gets a little crazy. So then I want to say the day before we got on the plane, it's probably maybe a week before. So, but it effectively the same thing. She goes, "Hey, I got to talk to you." And I'm like, "What?" She goes, "I just so you know, I rented 2 houses down in Florida, not one, and all the boxes that you saw, there were boxes with green dots and boxes with red dots. Well, the green dots were going to your house, and the red dots are going to mine. Kids were already enrolled in school. The moving boxes had already gone." She goes, "I rented a second house, and we're separating." So I get on the plane, and I talked to a lawyer. He said, "Well, you can't really do much other than do a tug of war with your kid's arm on the jetway. You can't do a restraining order. You can't really sue her. You can initiate divorce, but either you stay here or you go." So I decided to go because at the time I'd been taking care of our kids. I left my career. I had a very high comp, very high pressure executive career for 30 years. I walked to take care of kids because she was never there. So I went to Florida because the kids needed me there because there was nobody else that was going to take care of them. So I went. I was kind of pre-retired at that point. So I came down to Florida, and boom, the week after I got there, I had a petition for divorce on my in my mail. And so I got down here. Basically, my supposition is that I got tricked into coming down here so that I wouldn't fight custody across state lines, and so she could get married to what's now the new stepdaddy for my kids. This is probably, I won't say it's a common story, but it's something that men should be aware of. This is how it works. I'm in Florida because I have to be. I never chose Florida as my home. This is not my home. Minnesota was my home. I'm just here because I came down here under false pretenses, and now I'm kind of here because I have to be. I don't know if that answers the question. That's my story.
Oh, shit.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man.
Oh my God.
That's
yeah.
You make a good point at the end there where there is, as dramatic as this is how it plays out in a lot of men's lives. But nevertheless, did you have a moment where you asked yourself, or had maybe it was a question, maybe it was a statement, but it's phrased somewhat like, the audacity of this bitch to move me down to this state where she's been getting ready to marry this other guy? Did that? What was your reaction to that?
Well, here's. I mean, listen. It's been a long time. That was 2009. Was it 11 years ago? I've forgotten more about my divorce than I can remember. But here's one thing: the infidelity. I mean, she'd been sleeping with this dude for 2 years before our divorce and a year before our separation. So that's kind of shitty right there. But I don't hold the infidelity against her. And people like stare at me like I got 2 heads when I say that. But the sex doesn't bother me because everybody has their weaknesses. Stuff happens. You have a drink at a bar with the wrong person, and you sleep on them or something. I never have. I've never cheated on any woman in my entire 62 years. But I don't hold the infidelity against her. What I do hold against her was that fraud, the trick, the lying to get me to Florida under false pretenses. That's the only thing of my whole divorce that still sticks in my craw. Was that's
the line for you. That's a pretty big deal.
That fraud was. I mean, it was. I put it this way to somebody. I said, think about what's going through her mind in the months and weeks as she's secretly splitting the boxes and packing them and putting the red stickers on one and the green on one. She had the whole plan. The whole thing was she probably worked it out with her boyfriend.
That was completely premeditated.
The whole thing was a cold premeditated execution.
Premeditated and sneaky, going behind your back. It's very duplicitous.
Yeah, and I hope she sees this podcast. She doesn't know that I know that, by the way.
Really?
That she defrauded me. That's
Oh shit.
If
What?
she checks out the internet, she'll now know.
It sounds like there were a few, maybe not silver linings, but at the very least happy endings. I mean, it sounds like you're still on good terms with your kids, and on top of that, you're fit as fuck.
I don't want to turn this into the me show, but yeah. So listen, here's a story. So this will be important to the men out there that go through this, and they go through this in their 40s, 50s, 60s. Divorce is a very traumatic thing. I remember sitting in. At first, we first realized there was a breach in 2007. We moved in 2008 and divorced in 2009. And I remember going through counseling in 2008 back in Minnesota. And I asked this guy, I said, how long is this going to take? And he goes, what do you mean, how long? I go, well, getting over the divorce. He goes, I don't want to put a number on it. That's not appropriate. I'm like, no, you got to give me something. He goes, wow, if you're going to force me, he said, I'd say maybe 4 years. I'm like, holy shit, 4 years? I was thinking maybe a couple weeks. So
it's going to take as long as it's going to take.
So sure enough, it took about 4 years. And I woke up one day and I'm like, the birds were singing, the sky was blue. And I'm like, yeah, life's pretty fucking good. And so it's been a long journey to get over that process, but life's pretty good. My kids, the fact that I spent 12 years around the clock full time with 3 daughters was pure gold. My bond with them is incontrovertible. I'm like, we're embedded and entwined in our lives. And then thereafter it was 50-50. And my oldest daughter is now 24. Middle daughter's 18, youngest is 16. So they're kind of still on their way. If I can brag for a second, my oldest daughter, if I may, just graduated, straight A's, honors from Stanford in economics, won the John G. Sobieski Award for creative thinking in economics from Stanford University. My middle daughter just matriculated at University of Chicago just this last fall. So they're all doing really well. They're smart, they're well educated, they're kind, they're generous, they're tall, they're beautiful, they're strong, they're lovely, they're not too woke. My life is, all in all, to answer your question, is incredibly blessed. I've been retired. How many 62-year-olds have been retired for 12 years with wonderful, beautiful kids? Life could possibly be better.
That's awesome, man. And as in regards to how they turned out, I mean, you're the one to take credit for that. Because you raised them.
Oh yeah, of course I take credit. I tell people they got my DNA and my looks, and my smarts.
There you go. All right, now we're gonna put Roman in the hot seat.
All right.
Are you here?
It's your turn.
I'm here.
All right, Roman. How's your love life been? Do you have any exciting stories?
It's pretty interesting. I've been with the same woman forever, and it's funny because I used to be a player. And I don't know how this happened, but I ended up with a feminist. And I was seeing her. It was the worst sex I ever had in my life. I don't know why I was with her as long as I was. We ended up moving in together, and we lived together for a few months. And she was also vegetarian, so that meant I was even a vegetarian for 2 months. And it was the worst 2 months of my life. It was just a terrible summer, with bad sex. And I hated her. And I kind of hated myself for being with her. So I cheated on her with this really hot blonde who it turned out later became my wife. And I'm blessed that she's actually a redhead. She dyed her hair blonde that one day. And got her pregnant. She, we had a kid. And I said, she called me up and said, hey, Roman, you're a father. I'm like, what? So I said, okay, well, I'll come back to California and we'll split custody or whatever. And we ended up getting along and we got married and we've been together forever. So I have actually after that, a boring story. So, just a really good marriage, got a wonderful kid. And lately though, I realized that I had to really get back into music and I had to do something else. And my friend Allie, who that's my avatar's Allie. It's actually her birthday today, by the way. She said, draw me, because she saw me drawing some cartoons, and I was really good at drawing like lions and dogs and things like that. She said, draw me. So I drew her. And next thing you know, I was drawing her naked. And she liked what I was doing, so I just continued doing it. And
Nice.
I'm actually a trained cartoonist. I had a cartoon show that we tried to publish. I couldn't get the funding
I
for
remember
it.
talking about that. Yeah.
But that's why this is called Opium Tales. Opium Tales was a cartoon. It was
I
a
remember
fantasy.
I remember you talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, my style is very cartoon based, and I try to be more pin-up, but then my stuff still looks like cartoon because that's how I was drawn. So as we speak, I'm taking lessons. So I'm trying to be a little bit more formally trained. So I draw anatomy better, where not all the girls look like cartoon characters. So you'll see me be a little bit more realistic year by year. But that's my life right now. I have 3 models. Allie and Roxy are both private figures, so I can't disclose their full names. My 3rd model is Sophia Jade. She's a wonderful person. She's very fascinating, and she's also on Pornhub. If you look up Sophia Jade, that'd be her.
Oh, no shit.
So
I'll do
yeah,
that right now.
Yeah, we'll throw it up we'll share the
all right.
Quick, share screen.
share screen.
No, that's exciting. Jesus.
cool.
I love hearing about how people's lives turn out, especially after these twists and turns. And it's particularly exciting with the guests that we have here because in your two's case, like, a lot of men, they'll have a bad year, right? Or they'll have a bad couple of years. A lot of people last year had a bad year. And informing people and letting them know, like, hey, random bad situations can, especially if you're clever enough to work with them, turn out in your favor, and remarkably so, into lives that other men would love to have. I think it's an inspiration. I think it helps people move forward. So good on both of you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you said this earlier, Jimmy, is that how Rivers Hedge has won. And I don't know if everybody follows H-Bomb. I met him in real life, fascinating person. He does jiu-jitsu, and he also did yoga with a bunch of famous people, including who's that kid, the incel who killed a bunch of people and made the word incel famous?
Elliot Roger.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Elliot?
yeah.
It was Elliot.
Yeah. Retard.
But we were talking about bitch eyes. You don't have that. You have wonderful, healthy, strong eyes, Rivers Hedge. So as much as you've gone through, I could tell that you really enjoy life. And I really think that in life you've won. I think that your daughters are closer to you than they are to her. Am I right?
A couple points here. Number one, I feel at 62 like I am, I don't know what the word is. I'm accelerating, not decelerating. I may be shrinking my profile on Earth, smaller houses, less material goods, blah, blah, blah. But in terms of life, I'm accelerating. And then in terms of the kids, the most interesting conversation I think I ever had with my ex-wife was, I don't know if I should say this on a podcast. I will. She'll probably kill me. So she looked me in the eye once. She said, daughter number 1, you have daughter number 1 and you have daughter number 2, but I have daughter number 3. By that, she meant that I had strong bonds with the first 2 because I had spent their entire lives with them. And daughter number 3 had spent more time after we had split in Florida. But that was a lie too. Daughter number 3 came to me 2 years ago and she goes, Dad, you know how I always get mad at Mom, but I'm never mad at you? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know that, but like, that's cool. She goes, yeah, well, we talk really well and we get along. And I'm like, oh, it's great. So the lie was, Mom was wrong. I have all 3. They're all.
I was going to say that. I was going to call bullshit on your ex.
They all belong to my heart, and mine to theirs.
Yeah. So in the whole thing, you won.
Well, and I want to add to that, since these two have brought that up. That reminds me of my parents' divorce. That when I was younger, I don't think my mom had done it advertently, like intentionally, but she had kind of turned me against my dad. She shit talked him a lot when I was like preteen into early teens. And so I was one of these promise keeper types where, yeah, I'm not going to be like him. But as time went on, as I got into like my mid 20s and right up to today, I am way closer to my dad now than I ever was back in like my teenage years. And I've seen that happen time and time and time again. Is that whether it's daughters or sons, and I'm not trying to shit on moms here, but it seems like moms, like I said, whether it's inadvertently or intentionally, kind of turn the kids against dad initially. The kids come around and start asking dad questions, and dad goes, well, here's my take, and lays it out there for them, and the kids going, huh.
Hey, Rob, can I jump in?
Absolutely.
So I'll tell another story. So on my oldest daughter's, she was 21 years old. It was on Christmas, and she came to me. She emerged from her room, her cave, which I rarely see her. She walked out. She goes, Dad, I want you to tell me the story. I'm like, what story? What are you talking about? She goes,
Hell of a conversation starter.
She goes, you know. I'm like, no, I don't really know. And she goes, you and Mom. I'm like, what about me and Mom? She goes, I want to know the story. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to tell you that. Oh, by the way, the other point was, any men that are going through divorces, do not play the burn your spouse game through your kids. Don't do it. That's a poison game. Take the higher road. Just play chill. So anyway, so she came to me, said, tell me the story. I'm like, no. I was going to wait till you're 30. She goes, fine, but how about this? She said, how about if I lay it out and you just nod if I'm right? Okay, so, right? And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I'm like, fine. She laid out the whole fucking story. She knew everything, all of it, from the beginning to the end.
And they always do.
Then she turned to go back to her room, and then she turns back to me and she goes, Dad, I know what you did for us. I was like, oh my God.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's intense. So kids know. You don't have to tell them. They're smart. They got it all figured out.
So true. Oh, go ahead, Rob. You were.
No, he answered it better than I could have.
All right.
The only thing that when it came down to it for me was after my mom died, there was, I don't know, a handful of details that I wasn't 100% on. And so I went to my dad and was like, what's your take? Don't talk to me as father and son. Talk to me as man to man. I want to know what your take is. I want to know your side of things, because I have a couple pieces of the puzzle that I don't think I've got figured out here because they're bugging me. And so he was like, you want to know the story, huh? And I was like, yeah. And so he laid it out there. And the funny thing was, not only did he fill in those missing pieces that I knew I had, he filled in a couple that I didn't know I had. That it was like, oh shit, there's a couple more pieces that I wasn't even aware of. And so I guess the whole point is that I'm getting to here, talking to River's Hedge, talking to Roman, talking to everybody, the chat, everybody here. If you are a father or you decide you want to become one, and you and the mother of your children part ways, rather amicably or maybe not so much, and the kids start off hating your guts or being distant, whatever. A lot of guys fear that the new guy, thinking of River, what he said earlier, about the new guy, you know, this guy that she had in the background for a while, and now he's playing daddy. You worry about that as a man, that, you know, what's he teaching them? How's he interacting with them? Is he fucking them up? Whatever it may be. But my experience, not just with my life, but with talking to other people, other men, other women, they might shit on you initially when you're their father, but they come around and they know, like River said, they know it all. They know the whole story, because kids aren't fucking stupid. Okay. I mean, all I got to do is look back at what I knew. And it was like, well, I knew this, 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 and this. Mom tried to repaint it into a different light. And it's like, no, I was fucking there. I watched it go down. No. The kids come back. Unless you burn that bridge with them, they come back. That's my take.
That's a good take and very true. Very true.
We underestimate the intelligence of children way too much.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But kids are very good at reading what really is.
That's true. And they're surprisingly resilient.
Well, I'll tell you what, my kids are pretty resilient. They're pretty strong kids. However, I just found out that, what's interesting, I never really threw my ex-wife under the bus. She's actually a pretty good role model. Very, very successful woman, very ambitious. I mean, made some shitty choices. And actually, the guy she married, I can say, oh shit, I got cuckolded, oh my God, woe is me. The guy's actually not that bad of a guy. He's actually a better communicator when it comes to dealing with the kids than mom is. He's just a dude, whatever. But my oldest daughter she just told me she's getting a little bit of kind of soft counseling, because she all three of them really harbor these really deep resentments about the distance, the time's gone, the ambition, the not to psychoanalyze my ex-wife, but she just didn't have that empathy gene that you need to be soft. People ask me, hey, what do you like in women or dating? I'm like, how about like 1 millimeter on the heart that's soft? Just 1 millimeter. That's all I need. The rest of it can be hard, but not 100%. Give me 1 square millimeter of softness on the heart. I'll take that. So
Yep.
my ex didn't have that. She just had a dead spot in the middle of her body where the heart was supposed to be. And the kids know that. They can feel it. They can feel it. And so, they come here to be nurtured, fed. I'm not exactly your typical soft, fuzzy, beta dude. I'm just like a, pain in the ass guy like any other guy. But they come here because I treat them with respect, and I'm kind, and I feed them, and I listen to them bitch about whatever, So I've got at least a little bit of a, 2 square millimeters of soft heart, so they come here. And so I don't want to be one of those guys that I guess I have on my podcast kind of throwing her under the bus. She is an admirable person because she's accomplished a lot of stuff. She produced a lot of wealth for the family. She's been rewarded and acknowledged in life around the world. She is a role model for young girls if they want to play that post-feminist, postmodernist game that women want to play. Here's somebody who's played that game and won it. That some people might look up to that. Some might be totally appalled. I don't know. I lived the life. It was interesting. My kids are going to deal with it for a while.
I like that you pointed out to them, like, listen, if you want to succeed at this route, if you want to take this to its natural conclusion, there it is. And it's not all bad. It's not, it's like you're giving them sort of a fair choice in the matter. and saying, look, there's stuff you could take from this if you really want to, and you're not sugarcoating it, but you're also not, like you said earlier, throwing under the bus or tarring it in some capacity. It's just like, here it is. And I suspect that's something that they like about you is the idea that you're giving it to them straight, and
Well,
that they talk to you.
listen, I've been the father of 3 daughters, and the new century is the century of women, right? If I mean, we could flip this coin and talk about how boys and young men are disadvantaged when it comes to let's say elementary school and getting put on drugs to suppress their natural boyhood, blah, blah, blah. And all the way through more men get thrown in prison and men on men violence, all the kind of men's issue stuff. I won't get into that. But the point is, the other side of the coin is that the world is a little bit tipped towards girls right now. And I'm taking care of 3 girls, and they're extremely well equipped to survive. And their mother has been a role model of how to, she was a barbarian queen. She would have been a good Genghis Khan back in the 1300s. So, is that a role model? I don't know. I mean, if you really like that kind of barbaric ambition, yeah, it totally is. And some women love that. That's the side of women that even feminists don't understand. Is that's the logical conclusion of where they're going. And I've seen it. I've been in the quote unquote supportive role, which is a burner. But let me get into this. So here's the effect for men that are in this kind of flip flop relationship. My advice: my brother came to me. His son-in-law was going to be a stay-at-home. He goes, "Hey, what do you think?" And I'm like, "Don't do it. Don't do it." No man should put himself in that role, because here's what happens. No matter how well-intentioned the relation thinks that setup is, the woman in their little hind brain, even though they say something else, they lose respect for you and they get resentful of the setup. So what they want you to help and take care of the kids, but they want you to still strive, win, succeed, battle, get bigger, stronger. It's a status thing, right? They want a high status male. So my lesson to myself was that I would never do it again. If I went back in time, I wouldn't do it again. I would look for a more traditional relationship, maybe not super traditional, but like more traditional than I had, because I don't think it works. Even in the 21st century, I don't think that our DNA is set up for that to work. That's my speech for the day.
My wife and I are thrilled. She doesn't work, I work, and we work great. I think I know this sounds very 50s-ish, but it works that way.
Well, and something I've learned to head off the guys that will eventually see this and start screaming about like money, status, yes. Women want to use you as a status item to beat over the heads of their girlfriends. So I agree with River's Edge on that one. The money side of things, she can make more than you. She can make as much as you. She can make less than you. Honestly, that doesn't matter. It's how you act in the house. She may be the power boss like what River's Hedge wife was. She's in charge in the office type of thing. Like he said, very successful, the barbarian. But as a guy, you need to be the barbarian and the king in the house, even if you're the stay-at-home dad. That I've never encountered a woman in my life, as I've dated women, hell, I married one, that made more money than me. And it had nothing to do about money. Money was never an issue as far as, well, you need to make more than me. Because it came down to what these guys were saying, what Roman was saying, what River's Hedge was saying. It's about the role. And we are not evolved to do this feminist flip roll that we're dealing with right now. So don't worry about how much money you make. You're still the guy that's in charge. You got to lead. And that's what women want you to do. That's the status, the getting stronger, striving, thriving, all of that Rivers Hedge was saying. You got to lead. And so make sure you lead, whether you have the bigger paycheck or not. It's irrelevant. It really is. So.
Yeah.
Jay?
No, it's true. It's very, very true. We're up to the hour, almost the hour and a half mark. Rob, you're up. You're a little late, but that's okay.
Guys, subscribe, like, do the thing.
And leave comments, positive or negative. They will help the algorithm get us seen. Even if you leave a negative comment, that helps us. So fuck you. Yes. So let's bring it around to what's happening now. Rivers Hedge. Are you working on any projects? Are you planning on a move? Are you going to stay in Florida? Are you going to write that book about your story that you just sort of gave us a hint about this past hour and a half?
I can't write the book until all living participants are dead.
That's why you changed the
names. Okay, so I hinted before that I got snookered into moving to Florida under bad faith, right? And so when I first moved down here in 2008, I landed here in August 2008, and I projected all my negative energy onto Florida. I'm like, fuck, I hate Florida, and I spent like 10 years like I fucking hate Florida, and it's a really easy place to hate. And people from Minnesota say, hey, how do you like Florida? And they're thinking beaches and palm trees, and I'm thinking the people, because the people down here are kind of fucked up. It's an amalgam of New York, New Jersey, plus the northern tier of South America, Venezuela, Colombia, whatever. So it's I don't mean to throw all these people under the bus, but it's a very self-interested, materialistic culture. And coming from Minnesota, the People's Republic of Minnesota.
Thanks, Tempest.
It's a strange place to live, and I recoiled at Florida for a decade. I absolutely could. I called it my elevator problem. By elevator problem, I mean you can get on an elevator 10,000 times, but once the doors are stuck, you start to sweat and panic. So I was stuck in Florida, and I started fuck, panic. I need to get out. So my plan is still going to be executed in 2023. My youngest gets out of high school. I'm moving to Montana because I'm a northerner in my bones. I grew up in Minnesota. My forebears come basically from the North Sea, a bunch of Scandinavians and Anglos, England, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, whatever. So I'm going to move north as far as I can go. I'm going to stay in the United States. Montana is the location. It's just a matter of pulling the trigger in 2.5 years.
Gotcha. Do you have a specific location in mind? You want to go, not that you want to maybe go off grid, but you want to do the, hey, leave me alone kind of thing?
I'm not doing remote. I'm not doing homesteading remote stuff.
Gotcha.
I'm shooting for Bozeman.
Okay.
Which is the locals call it Los Angeles, because all of the Californians are moving there.
Oh, God.
And it is sprawling a little bit, and the real estate prices are crazy. So I might be looking someplace a little bit less intense in terms of growth than that.
All right.
I'm not sure what that means, but here's the thing. Anywhere, let me back up. I spent my entire first 50 years traveling between the Mississippi River and the Pacific. I've been across the United States 70 times by plane, train, car, bus. I even hitchhiked once.
Oh,
so
shit.
I've seen 100,000 square miles of the American West. That's where I'm going. So for me, anywhere west of the 100th meridian, which would say the western border of Nebraska, and east of California, Oregon, and Washington. So that includes Idaho, Montana, the Dakotas, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, whatever. So that's the zone that before I die, I will live. I will have a home. Florida's not home. I will have a home that's up there. Now, if I'm not boring you guys or taking the story too long, I was on a long road trip with my daughter in 2017. We took a two-year effort to go from Minneapolis to Seattle by way of Denver, and mostly just for fun. But I was scouting retirement locations. And a couple of the places I went to, I learned that I don't really like. I went to Boulder, like, it's a bunch of hipsters and really expensive. I don't like that. I had a friend that lived in Vail. I went up to Vail. I'm like, this is really cool. I like Vail. The people are nice, but it was really expensive. The median home price was like $1.2 million. I'm like, I can't afford this. And then then there was a small town. We drove down to Moab, a little deserty. I liked it. We went up to Ogden. It was pretty cool. Lower real estate, but a little bit of crime. Didn't like that. We drove up to Jackson. That was cool, but Jackson was interesting. Anybody been to Jackson before? You know what I'm talking about? Okay, Jackson, Wyoming. So it's an international destination for all the big shots. So I went up there and I asked. My daughter was shopping at a consignment shop. And I asked these two old ladies sitting in the chairs that were tending the shop. I'm like, hey, you live here? They're like, yeah, we live here. I'm like, how do you like it? They're like, oh, we hate it. I'm like, really? Why do you hate it? They're like, well, we can't afford to live here. We have to live 30 miles out of town. And they said the soul of the city, any essence of community that this town ever had was gone 20 years ago. And then I talked to a realtor. The median home price in Jackson was like $1.5 million. And I'm like, shit, that's really expensive. So anyway, so we drove out of Jackson. We went up through the park, up through Yellowstone Park, and then we're driving north into Montana, up into Paradise Valley, into Livingston and Bozeman, Gallatin Valley, and I could feel my shoulders drop and relax. And I'm like, this feels right. So I took that as kind of a sign, like, I need to pay attention to this. And so I decided, if I'm going to choose a place that I call home before I die, between age 65 and 90, this should be it, right? Because I have, some people don't care where they live. They could be anywhere. Me, I have what's called topophilia. The place, the physical, geologic, and geographic instantiation of where I live is important to me.
Yep.
And it's got to be north. It's got to be, mountain forest. It's got to be northern tier, all that kind of stuff. Florida, mangrove swamps, condos, it's not my thing. I don't thrive here. I'm here because I have to be. So that's the plan. I mean, that's not a purpose. Like, a purpose is like me raising my kids for 20 years. Like, moving to Montana, that's just a transaction. It's like, I'll move there. Mm-hmm. So once I move, I still have to figure out what I'm going to do. And that's a whole different question. But I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'm not gonna preempt the decision until I kind of get there and see.
Rob's saying you should head out to Utah.
Well, based on everything, I live in Utah. And so everything he's saying, I'm like, check, 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 check. I plan to leave Utah because it's too fucking cold for me. I'm tired of the snow and the cold, so I want to move further south where it's warm. So I'm thinking I might end up being neighbors with Roman and with a few other guys in Texas at some point. But if you want north, I mean, Montana's beautiful. I've been there many times. I have friends that live up in Montana, but for me, Montana's too fucking cold. And so it's like, well, if you want a little more moderate, I guess, cold, but moderate, Utah might be on your list. You might want to check it out beyond just Moab, but look at Salt Lake itself.
Yeah, no, Utah is great. A couple thoughts on Utah. There's a lot of expat Utahns here in Florida, and their response was, it's a very, I don't mean to pick on Mormons, but they say it's a very Mormon state, number one, and number two, they're great people. They make great friends, great neighbors, but they want to bring you into their community. And if you kind of hedge a little bit or decline, you get a little bit shunned. And so the people here didn't like that. They moved here a little bit for that reason, not for the climate, not for the culture. You know, maybe some of the people here who moved here from there are kind of heavy drinkers. Maybe that was part of their problem. I don't know. But here's the deal for me. So I when I first met my current girlfriend 2 years ago, this is something I couldn't have done at 20 or 30 or 40. On our first date, I laid down three things that had to be conditions for, you know, being with somebody. I don't think I could have done that even at 50. So I said, number one, I said, I'm moving. And at that point, it was 5 years in the future. I said, number one, I'm moving. You got to know that, just so you know where this is headed. I said, number two, no dead bedrooms ever. I'm never gonna deal with a dead bedroom again. And so if that's in our future, then we'll have to either, you know, part or figure something out. And three, I said, by the way, I do something that I call I solo travel. I sometimes grab a bag and a book, pile of books and some paper and pencils and drawing material, and I just go. I said, it's nothing personal. I just need that time on the road, the walkabout, to regain energy.
Yes.
So I said, those are the three. And she sat back. She goes, I don't see a problem with any one of those. So that's why we've been together for 2 years. First person in 60 years I've never had an argument with, ever.
Wow.
So anyway, so my point was that she said, and she's retired. Her husband died 15 years ago. Had lung cancer. Very sad story. But he was one of the number one. He was the biggest landscaper in the Tri-County area in Florida for like 20 years. So she got set up very well. She's got a nice house down in southern Florida. She's got a little place up in Raleigh. She said, look, the fact that you're moving doesn't bother me at all. She said, here's how I think it could work. She said, I know you think that going up there is going to break this relationship, and it may. She said, but here's an alternative vision. She said, winters, I'm not going up there. She said, I'm not going to live up. It's too cold. She said, winters, why don't you come down here, spend some time down here. Summers, I spend some time up there. And in the shoulder season, we go to Raleigh or to some other place. We can construct a life where we build a life together. We both have the resources to travel as we wish. We have 3 places. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good. And so I'm not consigned to a permanent northern wasteland. And keep in mind, I spent 50 years in Minnesota. So I'm not immune. I'm not afraid of being cold. But I have a setup now where I could in theory keep a second house myself here in Florida, but I don't really want to do that.
No, I like it. It's great.
Rob, Texas calling you.
I believe it. Trust me, I know.
Yep, you got to get yourself a little studio apartment in Texas and rent that out while you're still in Utah, so you can do some reconnaissance. Like one of those 3-month leases or something.
Yeah, there's other things that I have to put into play, and there's a couple things I'm waiting on still before I can do anything yet.
Is that like your 5-year plan, or is that after your dad passes, or what's
probably more after my dad dies?
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
I've always been the guy that I tend to go by the seat of my pants. A lot of people will say that's not a good way to go, but it's always worked out for me. It may be the biggest mistake I ever make, but I highly doubt it. And so I know that after he dies, whenever that is, it's not anytime soon, I know that. But after he dies, I'll take what is mine, whatever I get from him, liquidate it all, and at that point I'm going to Texas. That's the way it'll be. And that's where I plan to go to Texas, hang out with like Roman, hang out with Bull Rush, hang out with Houston Subgirls, some of the other people I've met that are all down there, and then figure out where the hell I want to live. And then from there, go from there.
Cool.
So.
Bull Rush and Houston Sub Girl are both very cool people.
Mm-hmm. Bull Rush has been to my house. He spent last right after New Year's. He came to Salt Lake and spent 3-4 days with me, and so I know him pretty well. And yeah, he's a solid dude. So absolutely.
Well, he's a Marine.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, there you go.
Marines are always pretty solid people.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Roman? You settling in nicely to Texas? How long have you been there?
We've been here since October.
Okay.
And we just decided, we just got so sick of California. It's a mindset. And California is now ruled by, you know how like when you were a little kid, there was always that really neurotic mom who would chase her kid around with disinfectant spray. She now rules California. So everybody in California is seen as a disease vector. You know, you're no longer a human. You're somebody who's transmitting disease to you.
Yeah.
And everybody's treated accordingly. I had to get out of there. I was going crazy. I'm an extrovert. I like people, and you can't interact with people in California because they're so scared of you. But as soon as we got to Texas, we have a bar that's walking distance to the house, and the very first thing we go in there, and the bartender says, "Take off your fucking masks." And we're like, "Oh, I love this place."
Nice. Nice.
So yeah, I went there with Bull Rush too one time. So he knows exactly who I'm talking about. The bartender's hella cool. Unfortunately, they don't have a liquor license, so I never drink beer except for that one bar. But
yeah,
the community is just so much better. We have a better set of people. Texas, unfortunately, is flat. California is an absolutely gorgeous place. It's one of the most gorgeous places in the whole world. But the people there are just terrible. And the good people
suck, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. We gotta get together a meetup down in Texas sometime soon.
Yeah.
We're gonna go hog hunting with Bull Rush soon as well.
Yeah, say when. It'd be really cool.
Absolutely.
But yeah, even my models are considering getting out of California. I can't disclose who, but one of them is kind of getting really sick of the cancel culture there. But that's a private conversation.
Right. That could be another whole episode. But,
yeah, which is it's a serious thing. In California, private or cancel culture means that you will have problems finding work.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and people think I'm exaggerating. It's like, no, I'm not exaggerating. It really is that bad.
Yep. And we don't. It's not as bad out here in Jersey. And in fact, as far as restriction wise and whatnot, some of the restrictions are lessening. So more people in restaurants, in gyms, and things like that. As far as the head count's concerned, but it's a good area as far as Rivers Hedge was talking about mountains and forests and stuff. You get up to North Jersey, you get some of that. I'm close to places I like to travel to Pennsylvania. Like this weekend, heading out to Gettysburg. I'm close to New York. I'm close to the Jersey Shore. I love beach living as well. I need to have a small little place in each different environment. Mountains and lakes. I need one at the beach. Yeah, it's something even in the city. I every once in a while I like a city vibe. I can't linger too long in a city because I need earth under my feet. But I do like the that energy that certain cities have. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the most energetic cities I've ever been to are in order: Las Vegas, Madrid, Venice, Barcelona. All have a tremendous amount of energy.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
And I haven't been to the biggest city in Romania yet. We hit the airport there, so I was just pretty much in the very small places in Romania. But those also had really good feels. I like cities you could walk in,
Yes. Yeah.
which America really has a problem with. The only really walkable city in America is Vegas.
On the smaller side, on the East Coast here, Providence, Rhode Island is pretty cool as far as like a walking. I guess smaller cities. A walking city is really good. The history, the downtown, it's very clean. There's the buildings are they're not blotting out the sun. So, but yeah,
Okay.
Providence, Rhode Island's pretty cool for that. But you're right, Vegas is the same way. Yeah. So
You definitely have to check it out.
definitely. We're coming up on the 2-hour mark, and we like to draw a line at that. So I want to come back to what we were talking about as far as experience and what you could leave our listeners with. Like if there's one piece of advice you would give our listeners, both in the chat and the people that are going to listen to or watch later. That could be whether it's any kind of random life experience. It could be women, traveling. What's the number one piece of advice that you wish you heard or you would like to impart to people? Like, hey, this is my experience. Do this. Don't do this.
Me first, or?
Yeah, Roman, go ahead.
Okay, so I really believe this. I believe that a skill set, talent doesn't matter. Like, for instance, you could draw, you could play a musical instrument. And even people say, oh, no, there's no way. Yeah, I can't draw. My drawings look like stick figures, and there's no way I can play a musical instrument. I call bullshit. And for instance, drawing is nothing but lines and circles. And if you can't draw, just practice doing lines and circles over and over again until they look like lines and circles. From there, you just expand on that and start putting the lines and circles together into what everything is. Like if I look at your face right now, Vince, you have glasses on which have lines. You have, parts, you have a little bit of circles, but then you have like more diagonal lines for, like your jaws, and there's like a little bit circular there. But for instance, everything is lines and circles. And in back of you got nothing but squares and rectangles, which are lines.
That makes sense.
So you just start putting things together. And the same thing with the musical instrument is you just start dissecting it. And like, I love what Rivers Hedge is doing, and like learning the musical theory, because when you learn that stuff, you realize just how easy a musical instrument is, and you just have to apply it. So anyone, even if you're stupid when it comes to a musical instrument, all it means is you have to practice more than someone who's talented. And all talent means is that you have to practice 10 to 15% less. That's all it means.
Okay.
But the same thing with the physical stuff. Like if you're uncoordinated, that means you have to shoot baskets 20% more than the guy who's talented.
So it's persistence, discipline, and repetition.
Exactly, and that goes to anything. And the same thing with meeting chicks. If you're bad with chicks, just talk to more chicks.
Absolutely. I think part of the problem is it's the same with, let's say, like 30 years ago, you walked into a small bookstore and the self-help section was maybe half of a bookshelf, if at all. And now you walk into Barnes & Noble or whatever, I don't know whatever other states have as far as their bookstores are concerned, but you walk into Barnes & Noble and half the fucking bookstore is self-help books. And we have too many options. There's too much, like, it's almost as if the self-help book, the self-help community, all this shit is like convincing you that there's something wrong with you. You might be perfectly fucking fine. Your life is moving along nicely. And then you run into this. You're like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I need to look into this, or maybe I need to read this. And then you go off, you down this fucking rabbit hole of self-help bullshit. There's just too much. But yeah, it's getting back to the women. I mean, that wasn't a problem 100 years ago. That's even 40, 50 years ago. You didn't have all this bullshit books and courses and all this other crap. You did the thing. You did the thing. And what was the thing? That
Okay.
girl over there, she looks pretty. I want to talk to her. I want to know more about her. And you went and you did it, or you didn't, and that you went about your life, and that was it. Nobody heard about it. You didn't tweet about it. You didn't. I mean, maybe you talked to your parents or your friends about it, or whatever. That was it. Now it's this huge, big fucking production, and we have too much information coming in. It's like, well, what the fuck do I do? So the information, yeah, that Mictobus, right? Walden Books. The information that we have is not. It's still not good. The information that we're inundated with is still not doing the thing. It's because that's not needed. The books, the courses, all this other stuff, it's not needed. Go live your life. Go do the thing. Go talk the thing. The thing right now, all right, it's the girl. Go talk to her. Go do it. And that's where the persistence, the discipline, and the repetition come into play.
Exactly.
That was my rant. So there you go. All right. Rivers Hedge is up now.
Yeah, I'll throw in. All right, I'll lay my old man life. People yell at me when I say old man. I'm not an old man. I play old man on TV. Here's my lessons from 62 years. Read a lot. Read. People make fun of reading. Read a lot. Yeah, get smart. Learn shit. Okay. Lose weight. If you're fat and sedentary, lose weight and get jacked. I can't tell you how mentally healthy that makes you when you do that. If you have kids, the number here's a superpower. It's not baby Mozart, and it's not like elite schools. You know what the secret is? Just being around, being present. Just be around. No magic. Just be home for a little bit. And then the last thing, I hate to go into like this, almost like into. I hate this terminology. I hate the whole concept of quote unquote manosphere. And in that world, they talk about frame. You know what I'm talking about? Okay, so I hate that terminology. I use my own terminology when I talk to younger guys. I talk about it this way, and this is something I learned because you know why? Because I failed at this for 58 years. I failed at what I'm about to describe. So what I think guys should do, you should literally, not literally, but like mentally draw a circle around your feet. Stand in the middle, in the center of that circle, and do not leave that circle. That's your circle. Don't get pushed out of it. If you want to bring people into it, fantastic. That's great. If you want to share life, bring into the circle and increase that circle. Make it bigger. But don't get knocked out of it. Don't get pushed off of it. Don't get whatever. Stand your ground. And I was really bad at that in my marriage, in relationships. It was only when I learned, and this goes back to when manosphere guys talk about the frame solid, whatever, be who you are. That's something that that's the thing about age 58. I'm like, man, I have to be exactly who I am, and I'm going to for the next 25 years. That's my future. I'm going to make it, and I'm going to make it mine. I'm not going to serve her or whatever. I'm going into that future on my own terms, in my own circle. So that's kind of that's the all the gym stuff we talked about and all the fancy parenting stuff. That circle thing is kind of the thing that I really go back to in my mind as I step through every day. That keeps me sane because I define myself in that space, and I have to prove myself in that space, and I have to come up with ideas, and I have to be creative. I have to decide what to do. I have to lead the people that are in my circle. I have to be the center. So that was my lesson.
I like it, and that's true. I like the idea and concept of bringing people into your world, whether that's a girl, friends, even family to some extent, who you'll let into that circle that you create. Yep. Very good. Rob, you're an old bastard. What's your advice?
I've already said it before, and these guys literally have said the exact same thing I've said. And it's take no shit, take no prisoners, and if you suck at whatever it is, put in more effort and you won't suck as bad and you'll be better. So it is repetition, it is do the fucking work. That's what it comes down to.
Do the thing. Yep.
Yep, do the thing.
Do the thing, you son of a bitches. Now, Jimmy is just out of high school, but I'm sure he has some wisdom to impart.
What's the precise question, or am I just speaking off the cuff?
You can speak off the cuff, especially since you're slightly drunk, but you can speak off the cuff. And is there anything you would tell, like, even guys younger than you going forward, like, hey, I'm young, but I learned this little piece, do this or don't do this. What do you have to offer?
The thing, and this might be slightly counter to what's been said so far, but the thing I would say is take actionable advice only. If you can trade in the advice for something that actually worked and point to, okay, I did this and then this happened, it's advice. Otherwise, you're just rolling the dice and it's not, things might turn out well for you anyways. They might not. It doesn't matter. And frankly, I don't care. I take advice that is actionable. So if you're looking at somebody else's reaction to advice that they are sick of hearing, or advice that they've gotten tired of, or advice that they're not entertained by anymore, that's not a measure of quality for you and whether or not it'll help you. Look at the advice. Look at what happens when you do it. If it works, keep doing it. If it doesn't work, reject it. As far as I'm concerned, that's all there is to it. When it comes to the men that I've looked up to and the men that I've followed the advice of, I've looked at, okay, I went from not getting my first kiss until after I left high school to dating 24 women in my first year. So that advice worked for me. And people's reactions to advice have not worked out as well for me. That's all I got. Measure for quality.
Yep, outstanding. And that's very true. And action is always preferable. Action. Action has once you get moving, it has it's a weird magic. Like, it has its own momentum once you keep moving forward, no matter what. So anyway,
why I mentioned what I do is if we looked at people who, like, all right, well, this person failed. If we just tell them, well, you're just not acting enough, that doesn't. They might not. They can hide. That's something that they can even hide behind as a lazy fuck. It's like, well, right. I just don't know how to act enough. It's like, no. If you give them, it's like, listen, talk to this many girls per day. Say hi to this many people per day. Okay, tomorrow you're gonna ask for a hug, and you're gonna try to get past the COVID thing. Ask the person if they could take their mask off for you and stuff like that. Just see what happens. These are actionable things, and they can measure progress that way. But if you just tell them, just do, there's something in there with the next generation where, even though they must do that, they must take action. They might use they can use the phrase to hide behind it. It's like, well, I guess it just didn't work out. I guess it's just not for me. I'm like, no. That's why I like process. I like advice. I like the guides. I like the courses, even, the books. It's something I can look at and change my behavior as a course of and evaluate the results.
Cool. All right. We're 2 minutes from the 2-hour mark, so I'm going to call it. Roman, Rivers Hedge, William, it's been a pleasure having you on, so thank you for joining us for this episode.
My pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. I look forward to round 2. The curmudgeon's corner. We can see where we're all at in another few months and have some more good discussions. All right. So, everyone, it's been interesting chat, interesting guests. It's been a pleasure. And this weekend, actually, the adventure starts tomorrow. I will be on a personal writing retreat in Gettysburg, and there will be a Masculine Geek MG Battlefield meetup on Saturday. So,
Wow.
if you are in the area and want to join, send me an email. Just go onto the website and shoot off an email. I will go ahead and let you know the plans as far as the time and the meetups and what's going to happen. I know Mictobus is going to join us, Red Crusader, and Amos Joseph. He's not in the chat, but he will be joining us. So that'll be good. All right, everyone. Enjoy your evenings. Until next time, keep the fires burning. Keep moving forward. Keep taking action. Discipline, persistence, and repetition. And we'll see you next time. Take us out, Rob.
Meh.